Bonjour mes amis, hi guys, thank you very much for all the warm comments on my newly acquired GMT Master II. That's the 16760, the very first series of GMT Master II, replacing the GMT Master. And this one had a full Rolex service last September. It is spick and span, very clean, and really been an amazing pleasure to wear on the wrist. It was a long time coming for me to get one of these. I've been you've seen in my videos, I've been going around Hong Kong checking these out, checking out all the other alternatives, and as I said, sometimes you just gotta let the right one come to you, the right deal, the right moment, and I don't know, somehow it happened. While I still have yeah, my Tudors, I say that because I would love to keep everything, and certainly it's cool to have Pepsi, Coke, and root beer. Maybe I will have to reduce a bit the amount of money I have in my collection, and yeah, too much watches, you can't really enjoy them, and also you have to think long term about the upkeep and all that. Having said that, those Tudor GMTs are very special, and who knows, maybe in 20-30 years they will be as sought after as the OG Rolex. So this is really what all GMTs are compared to. Of course, this is the one that fits great on the wrist, very slim. You know, it's only a bit more than 12 millimeters, very light, and already back then the Oyster was amazing. Sure, it only had it didn't have the solid end links, but I really like the simple friction clasp. It does its job with no issue. Yeah, there's no fold over, but to be honest, I like it. It's very easy to put on. And as you know, the Tudors, they are much bigger watches, much thicker watches. What we have to understand is that this is the Black Bay. This is really the Black Bay Diver, the Black Bay 41, that a lot of people have really enjoyed a lot. And it was adapted with a GMT manufacture movement, which is in itself really cool. And if you understand it that way, if you don't try to imagine it's an alternative to the Rolex GMT, because it wasn't built as a GMT first, then it makes a lot more sense, and you can really enjoy it for really what it is. And as much as it has a much more mass and weight, it is an absolutely beautiful watch. And the thing with Tudor is that they bring back those vintage elements, some elegance, even I would say, that we really loved into the older models with the smaller fonts compared to the. Unfortunately, I don't have a modern GMT Master II from Rolex. They are very difficult to get, very expensive, but they have they're much more flash, much more luxurious and in your face. This is a lot more discreet, just like the old GMT Master IIs. It's almost the same size of numerals on the bezel, and of course aluminum bezel inserts. So it's got that look. I wonder if the Tudor ones are gonna fade over time, but the lume plots are very similar. They are not surrounded in white gold. This is steel, but there you go. Everything is very similar. What you get also with the Tudor is no Cyclops, which is a look that many people like. And the way I see it, it's a bit more as if Rolex had put a GMT in a sea dweller, if you like, in a modern sea dweller, which is, by the way, now 43 millimeters. So this 41 is not that big after all. I think one of the defining characters of the Tudor Black Bay is that they went for a 22 millimeter lug width, which adds a lot visually. If they had gone for 21 or 20, I think it would be already a lot less mass. Also, the lugs extend quite a bit, and everything stays very tall. That's the look, you know. That's the modern look that they went for. They could have probably made the case a lot more like what Omega does, and sculpting down the lugs, sculpting down the mid case. But they wanted to have this look. And let me share something with you, if you're on the fence about these. Yes, it's a heavier watch. It's around 170 grams for this one, and the gold one, the new steel and gold, is adds about 7 grams when all is said and done. Sometimes, yeah, it feels it's a bit heavy, but once you put them down, after a few hours or the next day, I find myself craving for the mass. There's something satisfying about it, and the fact that the whole watch is made so well, that it's got those that vintage look, no crown guards, and that big crown. There's something really satisfying about it, with a great clasp. They do need a half link. Uncle Seiko makes one, or to add one more, punch one more hole in the clasp to make it really perfectly adjusted. Right now my wrist has swollen a bit, so it's fine for me, but just as a side note, but the bracelet has great quality, so it feels very secure on the wrist, very confident. So while here the bracelet it's a bit it jangles a bit, it pares down the weight quite a lot. This is only is it, I think 117 grams, maybe 130? No, I think 117. Very, very light. There's a great feel to a very solid watch like this, and yeah, I do find myself craving for the mass, and you do need to have certain size wrist. And as much as I find that the men's watches look good on women when they overhang, I think that on a man, an overhanging watch is really ugly. It looks like you have your big brother's watch on. So you don't want to have wrist much smaller than mine. Yes, I'm wearing my Datejust today. My wrists are 17 centimeters and very flat. I think if you have round wrist, again, it might not be for you. But for the guy who has a large wrist, this is just amazing, and a very satisfying, very beautiful watch. And the manufacturer movement, manufactured by Kenesi, has been performing wonderfully. They had date issues when they first released the watch. Mine is a 2021 model, no problem. It is really accurate. The date clicks in with no problem. Bezel has a feel good, even better than the old Rolex. Great feel to it. Not so easy to grip because they're built quite differently. The Rolex is really a tool watch, has a big bezel there, and you can see the difference between the two. Difference in terms of from the front, it's not so evident maybe. From this angle, it's a lot more obvious. But again, if they had sculpted the lugs and the case and let more belly out of the case, nobody would notice that this is such a big watch. It's just the look. But yeah, the construction is quite a bit different. The bezel is a lot slimmer. Let me switch to the SNG because it's such a beautiful watch. I think everybody wants to see that more, and it's the brand new release. I love it. I love the colors. The colors are very, the name Tudor comes from a royal family, right, from England, and this is what I think the Tudors themselves would have worn. Those kind of very rich colors, the brown, the gold, the black. Oh my god, this is really a treat on the wrist, and visually a real pleasure. I've really enjoyed this since I had it. It's not cheap, it's quite a bit more than the steel. If I have to keep one, I love both. But I would love if one of my friends would pick this one up, because it's running really great. So when you have a good one, you don't want. I'd like to pass it on to someone I know. I've offered it to a friend at a good price, but he couldn't really afford it at that moment. But yeah, maybe I hope that happens. And I like to know where my watches are going as well. And yeah, I'd love to be able to keep the root beer. I'm such a fan of the Rolex version, the GMT-Master II, the root beer. I should have paid the premium when it was still reasonable. I now regret it, but it's still a lot of money. I'm not by getting this one now. All is forgotten. Everything is okay because the price was okay, and I'm really happy to have the Coke actually, because it's the one that's not in the lineup right now of Rolex and Tudor. Probably will come one day, so it's a bit more special. As much as I like the Pepsi colorway and the root beer, it's great to have the one that's not been reissued, and I think it's a bit more under the radar. It's very cool. There's something very cool about the black and the red, and it's just an insert. Of course, I could change it to a Pepsi insert or all black insert, even a faded black, like a purple or whatever, or even a blueberry one. I'm sure you can find anything you want, but that's the way it was born. The GMT-Master II started with the Coke, and that's the way I wanna keep it. It's really a tool watch that you can wear every day, and that's the thing about it. It is always cool. Doesn't matter what everybody else is gonna bring at the watch meet. You can't beat this in terms of cool, right? It's like a Speedmaster. It's always cool. Someone comes with a $200,000 FP Journe, yeah, ooh, amazing, or a Richard Mille, but this is still cool, right? You can never take it away from it. But yeah, the Tudor, they are beautiful watches. The mass is the Achilles heel. At the same time, it is also a pleasure. As I said, I enjoy the mass of them. Very tempted to keep this one. I just got it, and getting this one helped me also get a watch for my wife that she wanted. So there's a bit of a story. I like when there's a bit of a story, and also when I have, when you buy second hand, it's a bit different. When when you're the first owner, I think it's a bit more special. I wish I could keep really everything that I've bought myself from a store, unless there's something really wrong with them. But these watches run amazing, and this color, who knows in 20-30 years how this will be regarded, and if I was to sell this, I might just regret it. But can't keep everything, especially because Tudor is on a roll. They will come up with more better, maybe slimmer watches that I'm gonna want as well. There's the Tudor Pro, and all the other brands also bring great stuff. And you want to have the money ready in case something great is coming. There are other watches in that I want to experience. So, like Bruce Williams says, sometimes you just have to collect the experience. And just leave it at that. Just be happy that you collected the experience, and then pass it on to someone else, and then you can collect the next experience. Because if you keep all your watches, well, at one point you don't have the means to try something else, and there will always be something else. But there you go. If you have any comment, any question about this comparison, anything else you can think about, that I didn't address, please write it down in the comment section. Obviously, if I have to pick one just right now, it's got to be the Rolex. It is so satisfying, so perfect on the wrist. I think I'll give you the wrist shot. As I said, this very simple clasp is a lot less trouble than having the fold-overs. This is how it is on the wrist. Let me move the other watches. Just a beautiful, lovely piece, looking almost like new, of course, with a bit less metal. So it's been Rolex polished, all the parts replaced. Just absolute wonderful watch, and I look at it and I see nothing I dislike, and I will leave you with this parting thought, is that when I have the Tudor on, I look at it and half the time I just I stare at the beauty, and half the time I'm just wondering, is it too big for me? I'm sure many people share that feeling. And less with the two-tone. Actually, the two-tone, somehow this band of gold in the middle makes it feel a bit more at home on the wrist. Really doesn't bother me as much, and really adopted this watch and been enjoying it, although it's a bit heavier than the Pepsi version. Yeah, somehow it feels well, I'm a big fan of two-tone, you know. And that yellow gold is actually very soft, almost like a rose gold. But there you go, this is the one. I keep going back and forth. The band is very, very large, and the bracelet is very large. As I said, if they brought it to 21 or 20 millimeters, it would go a long way. But at the same time, it's the look, you know. As much as the mass of it, I also like the way it wraps your wrist. There's something satisfying about that as well that I hadn't mentioned. It really wraps the wrist, almost maybe in some way like a turtle from Seiko, or maybe a Panerai. It's a feel of itself. So I wanted to do a comparison today, but sometimes you just can't compare everything. You just have to enjoy it, and I think we're very lucky to have these brands creating interesting products, interesting watches at the moment, and sometimes just enjoy them for what they are. So there you go. I hope this video was a little bit interesting for you. Take care, guys. Have a good weekend. Bye bye.